Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome today. My name is Michelle Aubin, and I love to do interviews with interesting people, healers, coaches, creative entrepreneurs. And today I have a really fascinating person named Vivi Daniilidi, and she is a radical living coach. And I'm really eager to present her to you, and just going to ask her a few questions, and you can listen in and learn about who she is and what she does. So welcome, Vivi.
Hello, Michelle.
Nice
Thank you for having me here.
to have you today. And I'm really interested in the topic that you're going to talk about today. What is a radical living coach? I mean, that's something really unique, and I would love to hear you talk about what that is.
Okay, so as you said, I'm a radical living coach, a certified radical living coach. What I do is I teach the tipping method, and I use the tools of the tipping method. The main idea behind the tipping method is the radical forgiveness. So what we do is based on forgiveness, but actually the whole method is a way to see the events that happen in our lives through a different perspective. So instead of being the victims, we become empowered through the same story. We do not change the story. We do not change the event or what happened to us. What we do is we change the way we see this event. So we become empowered through this story. We learn to see that things happen to us, do not happen to us, they happen for us. They happen for a reason. So when we see that, we're not the victim anymore.
That's very powerful. That's really, that's a powerful concept. I've been hearing a lot of people that I interview talk about this concept lately. And can you, for people that are not familiar, I mean, we've all heard about forgiveness. A lot of people understand the idea, but what is so healing about this forgiveness piece? What does that do for people?
Okay, first of all, Michelle, I want to tell you that when you practice forgiveness, when we practice forgiveness, we never do it for the other person. We do not do it because we're spiritual or we're better people or we're high vibrational. We do it for us. It's something, it's personal. We do it actually because we do not want to carry this energy anymore. When something happens, we are the victim, the other person is the perpetrator. So what we actually say is that I do not want to be the victim anymore. So it's not that I'm a better person and I will forgive you. It's that clearly I do not want to be the victim anymore. I do not want to carry this baggage. So I do these exercises, I use this method to change my vibration, to change my identity. Because if I have the identity of a victim, you can understand that it influences all your life. It affects all your life, all your relationships, all your encounters, because this is what you project. You have in your aura the identity victim. So this is how people would treat you. So this is what forgiveness is actually, is changing our identities, changing our victim story. It is not, I will forgive you because I'm a spiritual person. It is what I do for me.
You're not doing the other person a favor by forgiving them. You're doing yourself.
You're doing yourself
a favor.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a concept that I thought I understood, but I went through this year a lot of deeper forgiveness, and it really isn't. It's what you said is perfect. It isn't that you're doing anything for the other person. You're letting go of something so you can create something new in yourself.
Exactly. Actually, the book is called Radical Forgiveness, Making Room for Miracles. Because when you take out all this burden and all these heavy feelings, actually you have the room so miracles and new things can happen in your life.
Why?
So yes, it is about making you.
I mean, everybody wants miracles. Everyone says they want these things in their life and this emotional freedom. But why is it so hard, do you think, for people to get to that place? Or does it have to be hard? How can it be easier for people to make that shift to be ready to forgive? Because when you forgive, you really do let go of something. You let go of you have to be willing to let go of blaming someone else for something, right?
What you're letting go of is your identity. And people sometimes they do not want to do this practice because the victim identity can serve you. Maybe you want to carry I'm the victim because you have a lot of attention, or people do what you want, or sometimes, or even when people get sick, it's because they have attention, they have all the favors they want. So it's not always, people say that yes, I want miracles, but they do not want to live their victim story because it serves them somehow. So we have to come into our own power and see that we do not need to attract attention through our victim stories.
I think that's a profound statement, this idea that there are things people can be getting from having this identity, and
Exactly.
and they may not be aware that they're getting them. Right. They may not, I mean, if you feel like a victim, you don't think you're getting any benefits from it because you feel like you're the victim. But that's a paradoxical thing, that if you're ready to have those miracles, letting go of any of that other stuff, that's really important. It's really profound. It's really profound. So how did you come to do this work? What led you to what you do? I mean, what's your journey been like?
Well, I've been studying alternative theories and methods for years for myself. And then 3.5 years ago, I was in a point when I didn't know what else to do. So I was asking for guidance. And I had a dream where an ascended master came to me and he told me, do forgiveness. So the book came to my hands. I didn't know at that time what that meant. The book came to my hands 3 days later on. I read it from the first, the book is called Radical Forgiveness. So the first pages, I was impressed. My thought was that I want to I want to let everybody know about this story because I thought it was a revelation. So I started doing all the exercises for myself for a year. And then I had another personal event that was shaking and got me full head into the radical forgiveness story and radical self-forgiveness. So when I got out of that, I was sure that I want to let everybody know because it's a very profound and transformational method. And I went to England. I did the training with Colin Tipping, who is the founder of the method. And I'm here now teaching about radical forgiveness.
That's beautiful. So you've experienced this yourself. You've had experiences where you've experienced the benefits of this radical forgiveness.
Yeah.
What about forgiveness?
And it is amazing.
No, go ahead.
Just let me tell you that it is amazing, as you probably know, that when you work on an issue and then everything changes around you, I mean, the energetic field that is affected is huge. It's impressive.
I've seen
everything changes because you change.
People in my life, all of my relationships are better from the work I've done around this. And that's beautiful. I mean, you can't ask for more in life, right? When your relationships all improve. Now, this idea of forgiveness, and we can forgive other people and let go of blame and all of that. But what about, do you encounter people needing to forgive themselves? Is that ever an issue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there is another technique. It's always in the tipping method, which is called radical self-forgiveness, where there we examine more guilt and shame, because this is what we carry when we blame ourselves for something. And you know what is interesting is that in the radical forgiveness exercise, in the worksheet at the end, there is a sentence about radical self-forgiveness, because actually what happens is that when we blame the other person and we do the exercise and we forgive him because we see that nothing wrong ever happened, we're used to blaming somebody. So when if I forgive you, then who is left to blame? Me. So I take it on me. So we have to do also radical self-forgiveness to let this part go too.
I think there's also something, I'm not a therapist, but I just from doing my own work on different issues in my life, I think there's something that happens when people experience trauma or some difficulty, abuse, or, just trauma of whatever that might be. On some level, many people blame themselves for letting it happen, even if they were young, even if they didn't have control to really, control the situation. I think that's a very common thing. The shame, the guilt, and it's not always conscious, and
yeah.
I don't know. I just, I think forgiving ourselves is always a very powerful place to start. I just, yeah.
And, on trauma, because I have encountered a few people, and we have talked about that, there is also there is a point in the technique that mentions soul contracts.
Okay.
So we do mention that maybe we do not know for sure, okay? We assume, it's all assumptions. So maybe what happened was part of our soul contract, and we have agreed before we incarnate with that other person to meet in this life and have this event happening. So if we are willing to accept that this might have happened, that it's all part of a divine plan and that we have agreed that, then, the weight is lifted. You see the faces, they change, their energy is changing immediately.
Now, does somebody have to believe in soul contracts in order for the tipping method to work? Because not everybody has that belief. And I know that's a controversial idea for a lot of people, that how can, you hear this a lot when people say, how can a young baby have agreed to certain things happening to them? Or how can, a child agree to have abuse, right? This is something I hear a lot of people talk about and question. So if you don't believe in that concept, can you still benefit from your method? I think that's important.
Actually, that's the most important question, because actually what is happening is that the method is working even if you don't believe that.
Okay.
When you fill in the worksheet, you have you have a multiple choice questions, and you can say I agree or I don't agree. When I take you through the 13-step process, you have to say yes, but even if you do not agree, it is working, because when you take these tools, what you do is actually you give your higher self permission to come and handle the situation. So when we use these tools, we get our conscious self to the side, and we let our higher self come in and take charge of the situation. So even if your mind is saying, no, I don't agree, I don't believe in soul contracts, this is silly, this is not happening, we only live once. No, your higher self knows. I'm not telling you that this exists. I do not know. I do not remember. But our higher self is connecting to the source at this point, at this moment when you do the exercise. And this is where the healing is happening. So no, the answer is no. You do not have to believe in anything, not in incarnation or soul contracts or any idea like that. All you have to do is just be willing to be open to these assumptions, that these assumptions might be true.
I know for me, going through different processes, I had to tell, because I can be very intellectual and very, wanting proof and not wanting to believe something unless I know it's true. And I had to say to myself, I don't need to prove this to myself. I just need to figure out how to feel better. Right? Like, I don't need proof. I just need to be willing to feel better. And for anyone listening to this, some people don't even believe in a higher self, but that's okay too, right?
That's okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you can get to a place where you feel better, it doesn't matter if there's a higher self or not. That's how I feel.
But the important thing is, there are so many theories around and beliefs, and for me, what is important is to take the theory that is making you feel better and is making your life more easy. I mean, if I believe in something that is scaring me or is making me feel guilty, why should I believe that? So
right.
I can choose something else. So anything that makes you feel peace, this is what you should go with.
And we have a lot of power over what we believe. We can change those beliefs. Just because somebody told us certain things doesn't mean we have to believe it. I mean, that's really mind-blowing too, to just say I can embrace different beliefs that feel better. So
exactly.
I like it. It's very empowering. So how long do people work with you when they enroll in your program or start with you? What does that process look like?
First of all, I want to tell you that I have a physical school here in Athens, in Greece. So we have groups, we have book study groups, we have even a board game where we play, and this is we heal our stories. We have seminars, so we have different tools to use. Otherwise, on the online sessions, we can have a meeting where I love using mandala. So you tell me your story, you draw a mandala, so we see what your subconscious mind also has to say about the story. We can see where your block is, or we can see repeating patterns through your drawing. Then I take you through a process, change your story to transmute your story and change the way you see the story. And then we draw another mandala again to see how this has changed. And this is impressive, the before and after, how your subconscious is working on that in just one session.
So you can
then
see
we can have 3 sessions, 5 sessions. It depends how deep you want to go. That's the difference.
You can see the difference in people's mandalas that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And the mandala shows what's going on for them at a level that's deeper than the logical mind.
Yes, yeah. Well, I also connect intuitively with them, so I get some information, so I know where to take them. Because, usually people say, I have a problem, let's say, with my partner, and, what comes up is something else. It's like parents, and I tell them, what about your mother? And no, I have worked on that. And then I insist, okay, let's work on your mother. And then you see they start crying or they start getting upset, and they say, well, I hadn't actually processed that as much as I thought. So I have to connect intuitively, and then we have the tools and the drawing, which is giving me the information. Yeah.
So say more about connecting intuitively. You also connect on a level of your own intuition?
I connect with them, yes, through the Healer's Power Grid, the technique from Sarah Negus. So I get some information, and then through talking, many times the body is giving me information. So if you tell me that, your hand gesture is always doing this, your body is telling me that you have a blockage in your throat.
Right.
Also, you can be showing me a repeating pattern, because here is the fifth chakra. So maybe something happened when you were 5 years old. So it depends what I will get from you at that moment, and I will guide you there.
It's amazing. It sounds like you're using a lot of different tools at a lot of different levels. And it's just, I just feel like we could dive into each one, and it's just a powerful concept. So if people wanted to dive in more, do you have a Facebook page, I believe, right? Is that true? Where they can reach you and find out more about you?
Yes, I have a Facebook page. Yes. I can. Do you want me to type it? It's my name, actually.
No, actually, no. You know why? Because on the blab, the writing doesn't get recorded visually. So if you could just say it, and that way, if people listen to the recording, they'll be able to type it in and find you.
Okay, great. So my Facebook page is facebook.com/Vivi, Vivi, Daniilidi, Daniilidi. So I offer some free sessions also, 20-minute free sessions from time to time, which is very interesting to see where there is a block or a repeating pattern. I do not have an international website yet. I have a Greek one, but I guess it's not, unless you can read Greek, you cannot read it.
But Facebook is
so
great.
Just read my Facebook. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just your name, and they'll be able to reach you on Facebook. Yeah. That sounds easy enough to find you, and and ask you more about this. And it sounds wonderful. So, anything else you would like to leave the listeners or the viewers with? Any other parting words?
I just want to tell you about the repeating patterns, because for me this is the most important thing in this method, and I haven't seen in any other method. The repeating patterns actually is we examine what happens in your life, because you might tell me that every 5 years I break up, or every 5 years I change job, or I move city. And so this is a numeric pattern. So we see what happens every an interval of time, and we use that as a point. Is telling us where we should look back. So if you tell me that every 5 years, for example, something happens, I will ask you what happened when you were 5 years old. So we'll go back to 5. Right. We can also use name patterns. If, for example, you always have an issue with a name, with a person named Vivi, for example. You meet somebody who is Vivi or Vivian, and you don't like me, and then you meet another Vivian, and you don't like her. So this is actually what your soul is trying to tell you. It's knocking and says, look there. You haven't solved that. Go back there, and this is where it all starts from.
Right.
So for me, the patterns is an amazing information that our soul is giving us to see where our block is, or to see what we have to heal.
And the purpose of that is to heal it so we can be free of that victimhood. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. It's profound. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing
Everything happens for a good reason.
Which isn't to say it is, that phrase, I just want to touch on that a little more, because when people say that phrase, sometimes what it comes across is like, well, God had a reason for doing this, and we should just accept it. What you're focusing on is a little different, which is to say everything is pointing us to look at certain things for a reason, so we can heal it and heal ourselves and forgive. It's not the same as saying, just accept whatever happens and go with the flow. Mm-hmm. You're saying, let's heal it.
Yes.
I just wanted
This
I
is
just
why
wanted
we
to clarify
say
that.
everything
Yeah.
happens. Exactly. This is why we say everything happens to us, or that the other person is not the perpetrator, it's a healing angel. He came to our life to show us, to take us back to the original event so that we can heal that.
Yeah. Very profound. Well, thank you, Vivi, for sharing this with us. I believe lots of people are going to get a lot out of this, and I encourage anyone who hears this or watches this, because I do plan on posting it on my website and on YouTube, to contact Vivi and get more information, and feel free to message her. And I am so honored that you took this time today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. It was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.